Hey, what's up? Welcome to Wednesday on Golden State Boulevard. For some reason, I look like I'm wearing eyeliner, but I think that's just because I'm like sleep deprived, and so I've got like rings. I don't know. I kind of dig it though. It's fine. Right. So the topic this week is names, and that's a really good topic for me because I have had my name legally changed, and so I can sort of speak to the process of how that works. At least in the States, in Michigan. That's a small disclaimer. It might be different other places, but this is just how it worked for me in Michigan. To start things off, just like introducing the name into my life in the first place, I started using a name that was other different than my given name in the ninth grade. Um, and it was kind of awkward because the name that I was using was absolutely nothing like the name that was my given name. It was like so it was kind of awkward to go up to people and explain that, but I don't know, I just kind of toughed it out. So I went up to my first teacher in my first class, the first day of school, of high school, and I said, I know this is kind of an odd request, but could you possibly use this other name with me? And she asked me why, and I said, well, I don't really like my name. And she was like, okay, just here, I'll make a note on my attendance so I remember. She was really cool about it. I didn't have a single problem with any of my teachers. It was just kind of an oddity, I think, for them more than anything else. But since I was new at the school, it was a really good avenue for me because nobody, well, that's not completely accurate. Not as many people knew me by my old name as they had in middle school, of course, because new school, high school, new thing. And that went really, really well. In all 4 years of high school, I had exactly one teacher, one, who just like point blank refused to do that. To this day, I don't even know why. And I put like the name that I wanted to use on all my papers. Like that's what my classmates used for the most part. But when she called attendance, she would always use my given name, and I would just ignore her. And then somebody would say like, "Hey, yo, she just called your name," and I'd say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't hear my name. I'm here." And it was just like this constant battle between the two of us, I think, but we got through it in the end. My school was also nice enough so that when I was graduating and they were ordering the diplomas, that they ordered two for me, one with my given name and one with my chosen name, because they knew that I was in the process of getting it legally changed, which was really nice of them. And if you're in that situation, I really recommend going and talking to your school about it, because it's a huge pain to have to reorder a diploma or other legal document like that after you get it changed, and it like costs money, and you don't want to really have to deal with that. So I would just tell your school straight up, hey, I'm in the process of doing this, even if you haven't quite started yet, but you know you're going to in the near future, so that you don't have to like get that reordered or whatever. Once I turned 18, my parents offered to pay for me to get it changed. In Michigan, it costs $200 plus a court appearance to get it changed. That's just in and of itself. And there's a form that you get. We went down to the central office, the place where you get your birth certificate copied. And I wish I could remember the name because this is a bad tutorial otherwise, but it's the like notarizing office thing, courthouse. Anyway, we went down there. I didn't do this part, so that's why I don't know. My parents went down there to get the form that you need to fill out to get it changed, and you fill it out, and you just say like, okay, this is my given name, this is why I want it changed, and it gives like a list of reasons, and I mean, they're not gonna knock you. That's what when we went down there, they told us like the reason why isn't really the really important part. It's just kind of for their records. So for mine, I just put for personal reasons essentially, and some of the other options were, I think it was there's like divorce for one of them for sure. One of them was like religious reasons. So for example, if you did a confirmation, like a Catholic confirmation, and you wanted to get your name changed to your confirmation name, you could use this box on the form to check that option off. And then there were a couple of other options. So I just said for personal reasons, which is like really vague, but I feel like that's fair. And then you get a court date. Once you send the form in, they'll call you and they'll give you a court date, and you go and you sit through like a whole bunch of really other like completely random little court appearances. One of the other ones on the day that I was there was a name change as well. You stand in front of the judge, and he says, well, since I was a minor, okay, so I wasn't quite 18, fair enough. I wasn't quite 18, but it was for my 18th birthday, my parents did this. And since I wasn't quite 18, my parents had to stand there with me, which is a little embarrassing, but, and he asked them, like, okay, you're approving of this, and they were like, yes, and he said to me, is this what you want to do? And I said, yes, and he said, why do you want to get it changed? And I said, well, it's personal to me, and he said, all right, it's understandable. What do you want to get it changed to? I told him, and he read it back to me and said, then this is what you really want to do? And I said, yes. And he said, well, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. So here, stamp. And that was really it. And we just got a form. It's about, I mean, it's just a regular piece of paper type thing. And it just simply states, on this date in this courthouse, this person got their name changed from this to this. And it lists the full name. So when you do a name change, you have the option to do either just your first name, which is what I did, and kept the rest the same, or you're changing other aspects of it. It's all in one. So it's not like you pay per name you want to get changed. So for example, if I wanted to get my last name and my first name changed, it would have just been all the same form, all the same court appearance and all of that. So on the form it says it's changed from this to this, and it states the reason why. But nothing really in depth, and then you get it notarized because it is a legal document, and you do get the option at that point to purchase a birth certificate, like a new one, with your new name. So you can get your birth certificate with your new name on it if you want to. I didn't choose to do that because I just didn't feel like I needed to pay extra to get that. And then you get to do the fun stuff, which is getting all of your other IDs changed. That's the really fun part, because you have to get a new social security card with your new name. You get to keep the number, but you do have to get a new card. And I had to go down to the Secretary of State's office to do that, as well as to get a new state ID. And if you have a driver's license or any other kind of license, you have to get those changed as well, of course, and your passport. So you do have to keep these things in mind when you go through the legal name change process, like what are all of the things that I'm going to need to also get changed, because they're not going to like hunt you down and say, hey, yo, you got to get your social security card changed, like your name on it changed. Nobody's going to do that. It's just going to matter one day, and you're going to realize that the names don't match, and then you're going to get into trouble. Ditto with a passport. Just keep that in mind when you get it changed. Like, try to just do it all in one, like one right after another before you forget, because I forgot for a really, really long time, like a couple of months, to get my social security card changed, and it almost got me in really big trouble because then I started uni and they needed that, and then I had to explain that I didn't have like the new card yet, and that was really kind of, it wasn't just embarrassing, but it really could have gotten me into a lot of trouble, because then you get into the realm of like two identities and stuff like that over something that's really easily avoidable. The social security card, I believe, cost $10 to replace. The state ID was $10. The passport was $50 because I just updated it as opposed to having to get a brand new one because the other one was still good. And if you got your passport done before you were 16, then you have to get a whole new passport. But other than that, you don't. You just have to update it, and that was $50. And that was pretty much it. The difficult part really comes into implementing it into your day-to-day life. Once you get it legally changed, then in the eyes of the law, that is your name, and then they don't care anymore. But when it comes to dealing with people who knew you before you got it changed, that's a little bit more tricky because, of course, like parents and things, my parents approved, my parents paid. So they didn't have a problem with it. They've never, I haven't used my old name in years, probably since 9th grade, actually. And so they were really cool about it. My brother, he still has mixed feelings about it. Friends that knew me from before then have mixed feelings about it. I have some who just straight up said, no, that's not your name, I'm not using that, that's not how I knew you as, blah, blah, blah. But my family have all been really good about it. I don't have anybody in my family who said that, just friends, although you have to wonder if they don't use the name that you want them to use, how good of friends are they really? Food for thought. No, but you really just have to be assertive about it and just say, like, no, Don't answer to it if it's not right. Because sometimes people aren't doing it maliciously, they just don't remember off the top of their head because they knew you as such and such for so long. And like if your name was Mary and you got it changed to Thomas, they might say Mary and just not even think about it. But if you respond to it in any capacity, like negatively or positively, that's still reinforcement to them. It's like, oh, that got your attention. I would just ignore people when they called it and I didn't react. And like now, if I ever hear that name, I don't even look up anymore because that's not, clearly they're not talking to me because that's not my name anymore. Yeah, so that's about all I have to say about names. If you have any other questions about the legal process, or if any of that was unclear at all, which I wouldn't be surprised if it was, because I don't have any of the papers in front of me, and that was really upsetting, because like I could have showed and done a little show and tell thing, but that's all back home in Michigan, so. But if you have any questions about it, just either leave a comment down below or message me. I will have my links to my Tumblr and my Facebook page and stuff down below, so you can just message me there if you want to ask a question about it. It doesn't have to necessarily be for a gender reason. It could just be if you want to get your name changed in a very general sense. I know I don't want to say it's coming into fashion, but I know a lot more people now that have done that than I would have thought I would have ever met. Right, so that's all from me, and I will see you guys next Wednesday. Take care of yourselves, stay happy, stay safe, and I'll catch you later. Ciao.